Day 8 training camp in the books for the San Francisco 49ers, and we got a lot to talk about per usual. Fresh from Santa, like not really fresh, it's been a while. But we're going to recap and react to what happened at practice today. I'm going to give you my take on the quarterbacks and, of course, everything that is going down at San Francisco 49ers training camp and kind of just stuff. You already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat, and let's get this thing popping. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, gang? Hopefully, you guys are having a phenomenal week. I guess it's Friday. For me, the last couple weeks have just been a blur since we've got football back. It's been a football whirlwind completely in regards to 49ers football, training camp being back, getting out to Santa Clara every single day, and it's been a good time. And no different today. San Francisco 49ers were out there on the practice field getting after it. We had quarterbacks out there doing their thing, and of course, everyone else. But I guess what I could do is pose it to you. What do we want to start with? Do we want to dive into the quarterbacks? Do we want to kind of walk through some one-on-one actions? Do we want to talk about other players who've been standing out from today's practice? What are we thinking out there? I want to put it up to the chat and give the chat an opportunity to drive the show a little bit. What are we thinking, chat? We vibing? But I will say let's do a little one-on-ones. I think one guy that has been a standout throughout training camp so far has been Javon Kinlaw. I think Javon Kinlaw has been pretty solid. He's again looks like a different person out here. Body looks transformed, all that good stuff. And I will say, Jake Brendel had a really quality rep on Javon Kinlaw today. Javon Kinlaw tried to bull rush Brendel in 1v1. Brendel was able to anchor and stop Javon from getting really much push at all. So it was a really quality rep from Jake Brendel, which was good to see. Spencer Burford and Javon had a pretty solid battle on the day. Javon Kinlaw got push. I would give the win. I would credit Kinlaw with the win, but I did like Burford finishing it. He basically flipped Kinlaw at the end of the play and got him on the ground. Kinlaw did absolutely push the pocket, but I did think it was pretty good. What else did we get? George Kittle versus Talanoa Hufanga continue to be a phenomenal training camp battle. Watching those two guys, those two all pros battle it out, look fantastic. Really do. They look phenomenal. Talanoa Hufanga, I talked about him, being able to have a better year than he had last year. It absolutely looks like Talanoa Hufanga is going to definitely build on what he put together. And we know what he did last year. He put together an all-pro season. I definitely think that we could see the best version of Talanoa Hufanga that we have seen yet. I mean, he looks strong. I mean, we had Talanoa Hufanga making plays all over the field today, and we'll get into it a little bit later when we get into team drills and we start talking about the quarterbacks and all that type of stuff. But Talanoa Hufanga looks fantastic. Braden Willis continues to look like a really he looks like a steal at this point. Braden Willis, when it comes to just like pure athletic ability, being able to get it done in a multitude of different ways. I wouldn't say he's like perfect by any stretch of the imagination or anything like that, but Braden Willis looks like a steal. I still think Braden Willis has been the best rookie tight end in camp. I do think Latu has taken a couple steps forward after kind of starting out pretty slow and kind of dealing with some drops a little bit, but Braden Willis continues to push forward, and you can use Braden Willis in so many different ways. It's really exciting. It feels like you really do have an opportunity to implement Braden Willis in just however you want to use him. He's super athletic. You can use him as a move tight end. You can use him as an H back. You could definitely use him in line, but I like it. I like what I see. Taco Charlton. Taco Friday. Taco Charlton, man. I've been warned by Cowboys fans on Twitter that to not buy the hype on Taco Charlton. So it sounds like Cowboys fans are pretty jaded by Taco Charlton. It's probably because he was a former first round draft pick and it didn't really pan out. So we know how that goes with fan bases when your number one overall draft pick doesn't pan out. But Taco Charlton, I think this is his third practice, I believe. He looks like a guy. His counter inside spin has been really nice. It's definitely something that catches your attention. And I do think it'll be fascinating to see if Taco Charlton could be a guy that the 49ers ultimately rely on later on down the road. So that is going to be interesting to see for sure. D Winters, I feel like, is playing at a really high level. He's a guy that I think has been a player who's ascended through like the second half of these practices. The last couple practices, D Winters has definitely stepped up and provided a jolt to the defense, and he's been making plays. He looks like he's going to be a good addition to the 49ers defense. Night Watcher says, I don't think people are considering that Purdy is going against the top defense in practice, so of course he's not going to look his best. I think that's well, thank you for the super chat, and we'll use this as I guess a transition into the quarterbacks, because I know the quarterbacks are continually heavily discussed, and we've got in now 8 training camp practices, 6 practices from Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has taken every single first string rep, hasn't even thought of giving a single rep to Sam Darnold or Trey Lance in regards to the first team. It's crystal clear that Brock Purdy is your starter. And to be honest, I really did feel like today was Brock Purdy's best practice. So, not because it was a flawless practice, not because Brock Purdy came out and was perfect. Actually, kind of the opposite of that. Brock Purdy, he is the very first play for Brock Purdy was a play action. He got sacked. It looked like it was a combination of Eric Armstead and Cleveland Farrell. I couldn't tell. Like, I'm going back from memory. I think you had like a tight end or a running back I think it was a tight end in space on Cleveland. And when you had the play action, Brock Purdy turned around and you had Cleveland there. And then Eric came all the way from the other side, and it looked like a Brock Purdy sandwich. So right off the bat, Brock Purdy started off with a sack. He did have a nice play action to CMC where he hit CMC in the flat. Again, part of the evaluation with Purdy is he back to kind of being able to work through his process of play action, snapping head around, getting ball out on time, in rhythm, and allowing your guys to do what they do. And so The first couple plays didn't really do a whole lot. Um, and then we did have a Brock Purdy to George Kittle deep ball. So this one, as I'm going to tell you my process when I was watching this. Obviously, it's been well discussed, and I thought in real time it was a pretty quality play. I mean, I'm watching Brock Purdy set up in the pocket. He lets this thing rip down the left sideline. The catch was like right about in front of me. And so I'm watching Brock and my eyes go right to with um Kittle with Drake Greenlaw in tight coverage. And all I see George fight, basically turn around, ball hits him in the chest, catch. Dre Greenlaw was in really tight coverage. I'm sure you've seen the highlight by now. To me, it felt like a 50-50 ball. It was probably 40, 45 yards through the air for Brock Purdy. And one of the things with Brock Purdy is we've just been waiting to see what that deep ball development looks like, because one of the constants right now with Brock Purdy is that he has continually pushed the ball 40 plus yards downfield every single practice. Now, I think this was the very first one that he's actually connected on. So I look at that in a sense as a positive, but I understand it's not where if you asked Brock or if you asked Kyle, I don't think that's where they want to be, but it's a step in the right direction, right? Like, they completed a pass. I don't want to be too difficult on a pass that was completed. Now, shout out to George Kittle, phenomenal effort to go up and get that ball. The ball did hang up a little bit. George Kittle did appear to have a step or two on on Dre Greenlaw. So ideally, right, you want to get the ball in the upfield outside shoulder. You want to lead the receiver, give them opportunity to run under the football, catch and stride, potential house call, perfect world scenario, right? So that can be true for sure. But I also think what can be true is the fact we got Brock Purdy. He completed a deep ball pass. It's his first one of training camp, and I really do think that it was a good opportunity for one, just kind of build in the process. Now, Brock definitely isn't all the way there with that deep ball. I feel really comfortable with a lot of other things. Now, he's not perfect with everything. There's still a process. Brock Purdy even talked about it. He's trying to get smoother, faster, quicker. And of course, that all comes with more repetitions and everything like that. He's still fine tuning. But from my perspective, Brock Purdy has checked so many different boxes for evaluating coming back from a surgery that was in March, I believe it was. So Brock Purdy has checked a lot of the boxes for me of just getting back to what we saw from Brock Purdy in 2020. Like, just trying to get back to that. Brock Purdy spoke about, I think Kyle even said yesterday that Brock's not all the way back. And I don't think that is like should be a revelation that Brock is still working back. I think that should have been at the forefront of the evaluation from his very, very first practice. That's why I think depending on like how you ingest the practice evaluations, everyone's gonna have a different take and different opinions and things like that, and rightfully so. But I think for me personally, I always knew um, that with Brock, it was a process, and it was going to start at a very low kind of level of expectation and watch him build. And every single practice, in my opinion, he's gotten better. So, like I said, you had the kind of completed ball to George Kittle. Wasn't a perfect ball, but it was a completion. Shout out to George Kittle. It was a phenomenal effort to catch the football. Well, maybe a play or two later, Brock Purdy goes right back to the same, almost same exact spot on the field, about 40, 45 yards through the air down the left sideline. This time intended for Deebo Samuel, but Brock Purdy didn't have single coverage this time. He had Isaiah Oliver on Deebo Samuel, and you had Talanoa Hufanga playing over the top, and Hufanga was all over it. Like he read it like a book. He was it for this throw to be completed, to try to paint the picture of how difficult and tight window of a throw it would have had to be. If I'm Deebo Samuel and I'm running this way down the left sideline and I got Isaiah Oliver behind me and I've got Talanoa Hufanga right here, the ball basically can only go here. Upfield, outside shoulder, leading me either out of bounds or upfield. So that was really the only spot it could go. And this particular ball went about right here. And I saw Talanoa Hufanga deflect it, maybe got his hands on it, maybe tried to pick it. It was definitely not as good of a throw than the completion to George Kittle. So I would say the biggest thing for Brock Purdy right now is just working on this deep ball. But the positives to take away, even though that they're not super effective right now on the deep ball, they keep hitting it. They keep going for it. Right now, Brock Purdy's the only quarterback who's throwing these deep routes. Like you have Trey Lance throwing the deep outs, but right now, I'm not sure, and again, I could be wrong on this, but I'm not sure I've seen Trey Lance attempt a 40, 45-yard ball. I'm trying to think. I'm not, I don't know that he has. I'm trying to like go back and even double check through my notes. I don't, he's thrown some 25, 30 yarders, maybe a 35 yarder here or there, but I'm not sure like we've seen I'm not sure we've seen Trey just step back in the pocket and just rip one downfield. Um I don't think we have. And I don't think we've seen Sam do it either. We did get Brandon Allen try it today. He did try it today. He tried to go for about 40, 45 yards. And again, I might be misspeaking. They might have tried it one or two, but from recollection, it feels like that Brock Purdy on every practice has a minimum one deep shot, but we see as many as two every practice. Tommy says, breaking news, still nobody wants Carson Wentz. Why? Is it because he's a ginger? Is this some more ginger nonsense? It feels like it. Feels like it at this point. It's because he's a gingy, isn't it? But honestly, shout out for the super chat, by the way. I appreciate it. And I'm not trying to make excuses here for anything, but I do think Brock, the most impressive thing about today, and again, this is my context for why I felt like this was Brock Purdy's best practice today. I look at move the ball period and the final team periods of the day as like the most important periods of the day. You have your first team period, sometime you have 7-on-7, You have one-on-ones, then you have like a second team period. For me, the last team period of the day is always the most important. That's how I viewed it when I played, because you would break it off that way too. Like we would do a team period, then we would do 9-on-7s, and then we would go back to our final team period. And the final team period were typically always more reminiscent of like game style simulation, and we got an extra team period today. So today was a long practice, and we got a move the ball period, and Brock Purdy in that move the ball period looked looked so comfortable in operating the offense. He just looked in complete command. He was delivering strikes all the way down the field, moving the ball. I think, again, like one of the things when I look at Brock Purdy, I understand if you're a fan of the 49ers and you want the Josh Allen and like you want a Trey Lance type traits quarterback to come out and just, you know, throw the ball all over the place. But with what Brock Purdy does so well is he gets in and out of specific plays and processes so cleanly and so effectively that it really just comes down to um, the way that Brock operates in these move the ball periods. I think is so heavily weighted, um, because it's the most emblematic of what games look like. And because, like, for example, you had Brock Purdy come to the line of scrimmage, and he sees that they're about to blitz. He checks out of it, and he hikes the ball. And as he's hiking the ball, he just he basically fades off his back foot, delivers a dart to Brandon Ayuk, and Brandon Ayuk goes, I don't know, 30 additional yards for a touchdown. But it's just like, again, it was the process of everything. I'm sure you've seen the play from Brandon Ayuk going over the middle that Brock Purdy hit him on. That Diamador Lenore was in incredibly tight coverage, and just Brandon Ayuk is an absolute dog per usual. But again, I just today felt like today's move the ball period was so heavily weighted in favor of Brock Purdy that's where I felt like Brock Purdy just really, for him, at least himself personally, for all the other practices, it just felt like that clicked so well that I was like, this looks great. Because then you have Brock Purdy come down to about what, the 10-15 yard line, and he throws this beautiful back shoulder throw to Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel goes up, makes a phenomenal catch, but the whole process just felt smooth, comfortable. He knew it was like exactly where he wanted to go. Wasn't a question, and the thing just ripped on him. I really felt strongly about that move the ball period for Brock Purdy. Again, it's not how you start sometimes, it's how you finish. Um, I don't expect practices to be perfect, because as you read the comment below, Purdy is going up against some talented defenders, um, and all that stuff. So, and it's Brock's sixth practice back, if I'm not mistaken. So again, like today for me felt like Brock's best practice, because not that he was perfect, because he wasn't. And there's still a lot to prove. You want to see him get the ball out faster in some instances. So, he had a sack. There's this one play that's been heavily debated about the pick six. I didn't log it as a pick six because it was clearly a sack to the point where the play was just destroyed. There was no, there was normally like if it's a sack, they pull up and you still complete the process of the play, but there was no completing the process of the play because the 49ers defensive line just engulfed Brock to the point where the play was done. And literally what Brock did was stand flat footed and almost just throw like this. Like he just threw the ball. And I've seen it being like, oh, but Brock Purdy threw a pick six. I'm like, it was a sack. Like, there's no way in a game time situation, live rep situation where they're tackling that ball even comes out of Brock Purdy's hand because it was over before it even started. So again, it's being spun as like, oh, Brock Purdy threw a pick six, which again, it was a terrible throw. He flat footed, just went like this, and it went straight to Sean Gibson. It wasn't a good throw, but at the same time, it was a sack and the play was dead. You had players pull up on it, like it was that much of a sack that everyone stopped because it was there's no there. What are you doing? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to go with it? So again, by no stretch of the imagination was Brock Purdy perfect today. Brock Purdy still has plenty to work on. But considering it's his sixth practice, I believe this is his fourth padded practice. I don't know. I got to get my numbers right on how many practices Brock has had. But again, the move the ball period for me is really what solidified it for me as Brock's best practice since he's been back, because he made some good throws. He made some good reads. He made some good decisions. You saw the check at the line of scrimmage. It felt like Brock was back into that zone. Like when we've seen Brock locked in games, that's what it felt like. The first part of practice didn't really feel like that, but that move the ball team period was something where I'm like, yes, this is what we want. We want this. Sam Darnold, for the most part, was efficient on the day, but Sam didn't really push the ball downfield. He hit Deebo Samuel on a slant. Deebo would have probably gone for a touchdown if they ran it all the way back. But Sam, we know what it is. Sam does have an arm. Sam has we've talked about it before. Sam has some good screens. Like in this offense, screens matter, screen throws matter, getting the ball out quick on a line and accurate to allow, because that affects the timing of your blocks. So, he threw a couple screens, actually quite a few screens today. Definitely an emphasis on screens in today's practice. But he had some some slants, some stuff like that. Sam did what he needed to do, but there wasn't anything like really overly impressive that I particularly saw from Sam Darnold today. Brandon Allen had a couple good throws today. He hit Chris Conley on a nice throw. He had a couple good throws. Brandon Allen did, and so did Trey Lance. Trey Lance had a nice one to Danny Gray. Trey has been pretty solid on the kind of deep outs. He's been hitting those pretty regularly. He did have a little bit of a miscue on one to Ronnie Bell, but it was still a catch. It was still a completion. The ball was a little wobbly on him. It was a little behind Ronnie Bell, but Ronnie did a phenomenal job to literally stop his progress, jump up in the air, and make sure he got that ball and the defender didn't. Um, so again, it wasn't the best throw, but his wide receiver could still make a play on the ball and get it done. Trey Lance had to throw to Jawan Jennings over the middle, got it over the linebacker's head. The linebacker was playing underneath coverage, right under Jawan, and um, again the ball was a little behind Jawan. I would say it was a phenomenal catch. Jawan literally had to go back and catch the ball. It was really an ultra athletic catch by Jawan Jennings to get his hands on that thing. I mean, ideally, of course, you want the thing out and away, but really solid catch by Jawan. And again, Trey put it in a spot where he could get it. Um, Trey, what other throws did Trey have? Trey had a couple more good ones. Oh, Oh, he had one of my favorite throws from Trey. It was super snappy, super rhythmic, and on point. Trey Lance kind of showed zone read. So he kind of put the ball out. The running back does the whole like zone read look, and then he pulls the ball up and just whipped it to Ronnie Bell for about a 25-yard completion. I thought that was a really nice one. Um, I thought that was a really nice one. We talked about Trey hitting Danny Gray outside the numbers. Would have been a potential sack. I had it kind of as a sack. Taylor Hawkins came blitzing off the left side, but still they let it go. Trey Lance completed the ball to Danny Gray. Danny Gray has really been taking steps forward in each of these practices. Danny Gray is absolutely solidifying himself and his roster spot. I know Danny Gray had a slow start, and I spoke about his slow start, but honestly, Danny is really picking it up, and I've been really happy with what Danny's been able to do, for sure. So, um, for me personally, oh, Trey Lance had a couple good passes to Danny Gray, a 30-yard dot to Danny Gray. I forgot about that one. Um, just absolute dot, put it on him. So Trey Lance had some good throws today for sure. Um, again, I really weight that move the ball period, and I felt like Brock Purdy had the best move the ball period out of any quarterback. Um, but again, also at the same time, it it's such a hard evaluation because each individual quarterback has to be evaluated individually of themselves. It feels like it's almost like a knee jerk reaction now to just compare these guys all the time, like who won today, who was better today. But at the same time, it's like, are we evaluating properly if that's what we're doing? Like, are we evaluating properly if we are just focused on comparison? You know what I mean? Like I'm really trying not to, but I know a lot of people want to know that. They want to know who had the best practice today, who was the better quarterback. And it's just like I think these evaluations are so individual to themselves. Like I expect a little bit more to Sam Darnold. Trey Lance, I expect him to continue to improve every day, and I think he has. I think one of the things with Trey Lance that has been the best evolutions since last year is he's more consistent. And that was one of the biggest things. Like just close the gap on consistency. We knew he could make the big throws. We know he can do a lot of things. And it was just closing the gap on consistency, and I feel like he's done that, and I feel like that's why Trey's probably having the best camp of I mean, I'm not gonna lie, dude, his rookie camp was fun. Trey was doing some crazy stuff in his rookie year. I don't know. I still am like a firm believer of Trey should have been starting as a rookie, especially with the camp that he was having. I mean, dude, Trey Lance started so hot in training camp as a rookie. He had Jimmy Garoppolo sweating. Um, so it's definitely his best training camp since his rookie year. I know he cooled off a little bit at the end. I remember I remember Jimmy Garoppolo settled in and Jimmy started doing Jimmy things and, completing those lasers over the middle of the field. And so they rode with Jimmy and whatever. But all things considered, you think of the snap share, you think of the kind of interesting rotation with the quarterbacks, the Brandon Allen stuff. It's really hard not to be impressed with what Trey's done. You know what I mean? Like, I think I think Trey has really taken that step forward that we were hoping for. And I think the biggest thing with Trey is because he's taken that step forward with consistency, it's hard not to see a path where he can be a good quarterback in this league. Like, imagine if Trey was getting all the one, like, just imagine a world where, you know, I don't know if this competition is pushing him to be better, pushing him to be more aggressive, pushing him to have a more sense of urgency. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this competition is benefiting Trey, but there's also a world that exists where it's like, man, if Trey was exclusively getting first team reps, like, maybe the process isn't as clean as what Purdy is capable of, like, let's say, in move the ball period, because I still think Trey has can miss some reads, but so does Brock. Um, but I think Trey has such big play potential. You know what I mean? Like, he can sling the ball downfield. I think going deep for Trey is not as difficult as kind of more the layup throws. Like, Trey he missed a layup today. He was in the pocket. He kind of went through his reads and then he bailed out to his right. And he probably could have hit, I think it was TDP, as his check down while in the pocket. He tried to escape, scan downfield, try to see if there's a bigger play available. And then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to TDP, and just this little dump off touch pass for 5 yards. Ball hit the dirt right in front of TDP. And it's just like, oh, it's like, we know Trey can hit those passes, but it's also like, man, I just want to see him hit those passes. Like, we know the little touch passes he's capable of. Just want to see it a little bit more. But ultimately, man, like, I really don't think these guys are having bad practices. I think what's happening right now is, shout out Ellis for the $5. Thank you, brother. I just think what's happening now is, again, we're hyper fixated on this quarterback situation. We want people want to know, right, every little thing that is happening with this quarterback competition. They want to know every rep. They want to know every little thing. They want to know every little detail, and then they're going to judge every little detail. And it's just like, practice is, in one sense, it's meant to get better. You're meant to improve. You're meant to get better and work on things, but you also should be awarded an opportunity to make mistakes and work on things that maybe need work, like Brock Purdy. Uh, there's a hyperfixation right now. What are you doing? I am being. Can you close the door, please? My door just swung open, and it was my 1-year-old. Like, I was like, what the heck? Talk about squirrel. Nope, baby. He just went. Kick down the door. Get off your live. Play with me. Um, but again, man, like it's just an interesting situation. It's an interesting situation. I think all quarterbacks, there's not really one quarterback separating. Like that's just, like when we talked about Trey in this competition, we talked about Trey stealing the job, taking the job, um, making sure it was his. Now he's having a good practices. He's stringing days together. Um, he's having good practices, but he's also not, I think, quite putting. And again, it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. I think Kyle Shanahan kind of manufactures those types of environments for his guys. He wants to put them in the pressure cooker, and he wants to see how they handle it, see how they get out of it. And I do think right now that Trey's managing it. He's doing a good job. But so Sam's doing a pretty good job. Brock is doing a pretty good job. And so with Brock being the starter and Brock continuing to improve, I think every single day, I think Brock is going to maintain that starting job, and they just got to figure out, is it going to be Sam or is it going to be Trey? Or are they going to just keep all three? And is Brandon Allen going to be a practice squad guy? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how it ultimately plays out. But I don't think there really is much of a question right now of who the starter is. Like the starter is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's the guy. And again, to me, with each and every practice, he continues to solidify it. Is Brock Purdy 100% back yet? I don't think so. I still think he's got some stuff to work on. I still think he's got I think he's really trying to fine tune this deep ball. Like I really think that Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, they understand that defenses are going to give them those opportunities, right? Because what are defenses going to do? They're going to look at Brock Purdy. They're going to try to take away the short intermediate throws over the middle. They're going to play single high. They're going to bring another safety into the box. They're going to try to take away the short area of the field, whether it's a screen game, whether it's slants, dig routes, things like that. They're going to try to take that away, and they're going to want to force Brock to beat him outside the numbers and downfield. And so I want to see Brock keep going. I don't think Brock is where he needs to be yet on deep balls. I just don't. But in regards to every other facet of his game, I think he's definitely proven that he can be right back. He can do the touch throws. He can do intermediate. He can do screen. He made a really nice throw with a really nice anticipatory throw to CMC today. He anticipated the break. He's already in his windup. Nice timing. Like he can do all those things. Right now for Brock, it is keep going, man. Keep throwing that 9 ball. Keep throwing into double coverage in training camp, because we're going to need that one of these days. We're going to need Brock to be able to push the ball downfield. I want to see it continue. I want to see Brock keep going downfield, keep pushing the ball downfield, keep taking those shots. Even if he keeps coming up short, keep taking them until they start hitting. Then he starts to build up a confidence, and then they start cooking it up and dialing in game. I know he can do it. There's just, because think about it like this. Brock, in his first 4 to 5 deep throws downfield, he overthrew each one of his wide receivers. He overthrew them, right? Now what is Brock doing? He's underthrowing them. So to me, he's trying to find that sweet spot. He's trying to get that touchback, like that deep ball timing is a thing of beauty once you figure it out. And I just think right now what Brock is doing is he's trying to find it. And is it hitting right now? No, but don't stop. Keep going. Keep throwing that thing up until you find the timing, until you find that recipe of throwing with anticipation, throwing to a spot, throwing your guys open, and I think it will come. So I think with Brock, it's a patience thing. It's a keep taking your shots. Keep pushing the envelope. I would love to see Brock come out and practice. Hopefully there's no rest day. We see Brock tomorrow and he's pushing the ball downfield again. Pushing the ball downfield again. Even if he's not hitting, I want to see him push the ball downfield. I want to build up that stamina, build up that touch, and just because if we can get Brock hitting on 40, 45, 50-yard throws downfield, that is going to help open up the rest of the offense. So I know it's not Brock Purdy's like bread and butter, but if we can get one or two quality deep throws a game, it forces defenses to play you honest and it allows you to be able to go after it, get after it. So I really do like what Brock's doing right now. I still think Brock's the guy. I don't think any of the other guys have really forced a competition for, the number 2 spot, or excuse me, the like first string spot. But they're also yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. But Trey has looked good. Sam has looked pretty good. Brandon Allen's looked pretty good. So, what do you do in that scenario? Boomerat wants to talk about Jake Moody, the franchise kicker. Bro, he's franchised now. I think he had a miss today. But he's still banging 60-yard kicks. Honestly, Zane Gonzalez doesn't look like a bad kicker. He really doesn't. Zane Gonzalez can definitely be kicking for someone in the NFL. But honestly, the 49ers have, the long-term plan of Jake Moody, franchise kicker, for the future. And I guess that's not a bad thing. I would say that's a good thing. So franchise kicker. First ballot Hall of Fame kicker. For sure. What other things you guys want to talk about? Obviously, we spent a lot of time on the quarterbacks, a lot of conversations about the quarterbacks. Again, to give you a recap, Brock to me is still the quarterback one. I thought today was Brock's best practice because his move the ball period was so efficient and effective that it really kind of trumped to me any little miscues that he had earlier just because it was so clean. I thought it was such a nice move the ball period, and I weight that period because it's the closest to a game simulation. Closest to the game simulation, going up against the first team. I mean, he went at Charvarius Ward. He saw Charvarius Ward and he went at him, and they came away with a touchdown on it. They came away with a touchdown with it on it with it. I would say Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk's chemistry is evident. Um, Brock knows how to throw to BA. He does. How do the rookie wideouts look? Oh no, I'm gonna go in order. Do you think the 49ers could get a pick for Zane Gonzalez if he keeps kicking well? I don't know. It depends. I don't know how they would. I don't know. They would. They don't have any leverage for that. So I don't. Maybe depends on how desperate someone is. Um, did you ever talk about Isaiah Oliver? Isaiah Oliver was in coverage on Debo Samuel on the deep ball attempt to from Brock Purdy to Debo Samuel. Talanoa Fongo with a nice PBU on that one. He was in good coverage. He was in good coverage. So, but Samuel Womack too, man. Like Isaiah Oliver has been pretty good, but Samuel Womack continues to look like a starting quality nickel. Like he looks like he could be a guy. So Samuel Womack continues to look good. How do the rookie wideouts look? Isaiah Winstead had a really nice catch today from Trey Lance. It was a pretty high throw. I think it was like on a deep out to the right sideline, and Isaiah Winstead really had to go up and get it. But it was a good catch, man. Trey put it up there. Isaiah went and got it. It was a good catch. Ronnie Bell, again, like I said, Ronnie Bell had a really nice catch today because he had to make an adjustment on the ball. It was again like a deep out towards the sideline, probably about 15, 20 yards. Uh, it didn't look like the ball came out of Trey's hand the way Trey wanted it to. And so you had Ronnie Bell breaking towards the sideline, and he had to kind of put his foot in the ground and jump up and come back to the football. And it was a pretty it was a pretty athletic process. So Ronnie Bell looks good. Rookie wide receivers look pretty decent for sure. Christopher says, I'm not confident Brock will develop a deep ball, at least not this year after the offseason. Maybe. I'm not ready yet to say that he won't, because again, I think they're going to keep drilling it in practice. And if he keeps going, I think he might have an opportunity. Latu and Willis. I think Willis looks good, man. I really do think Willis is making this roster. I don't think it's much of a. I think Willis is going to end up being the guy that plays the most this year. I don't know long term who will have a better career, but I would say the guy who's going to play the most this year is going to be Braden Willis. Because again, I still think my original offseason theory is going to be true. I don't think Kyle Shanahan is going to feel confident with two rookie tight ends behind George Kittle. On top of that, they're going to keep Charlie Warner because of his ability in the run game. And so as a result, you're going, and Braden Willis is going to play well enough that you're not going to be able to put him on the practice squad, and you're not going to cut a third round pick in Latu. So pretty much all of that has come to fruition so far in training camp. Dwelly has been struggling. I think this might be the end of the road for Dwelly with his time with the Niners. And I think the 49ers are going to ultimately keep Kittle, Warner, Latu, and Willis. And Willis is going to be the rookie that has the biggest impact on the season this year. He's looked pretty good so far in training camp. So I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. Take this for what you will, because as you guys know, I play Dynasty Fantasy Football. Again, if you're not familiar with what Dynasty Fantasy Football is, it's ongoing league. It never ends. We have rookie drafts, we have all off season, like it's a year round league, and it mimics like an NFL season. We have our rookie draft right after the NFL draft, whatever. So I picked up Latu after the draft, after the rookie draft. Yesterday, I picked up Willis and I dropped Latu. Now I hope that doesn't blow up in my face. And again, this is Dynasty League, so you are looking multiple years out because you have these teams for. I built on this particular team. I'm talking about. We started in 2017, so I've had this team for whatever that is, six years, heading into year 7 of building this roster out continuously. I dropped Latu and I picked up Braden Willis because I put in my. That's basically me saying I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Like I think Willis is going to have a more impactful rookie season as a receiver than Cameron Latu is. But that doesn't mean Cameron Latu can't be a good player. It doesn't mean Cameron Latu isn't going to have an impact. Just so far from what I've seen, I've been pretty impressed with Braden Willis and what Braden Willis has been able to provide for the offense already. So I think Braden Willis can absolutely be a guy for the 49ers. For sure. So I like what I see out of Braden Willis. Let's see. Biggest disappointment so far in training camp. Biggest disappointment so far in training camp. Can't be Ambry. Ambry had a nice pass breakup today on George Kittle. Ambry's had a tough training camp, but he did have a pass breakup on George Kittle today. So got to give him some credit. Tough, most disappointment for me to quantify disappointing. It would be because I had high hopes or high expectations, and then they weren't meeting whatever expectation that I had set forth for said player. You know, to be honest, maybe see, I can't even say that because he's had a couple sacks. Biggest disappointment. Honestly, I don't got a good answer for you. I think everyone's played pretty well. Like, see, that's the thing. It's like we get so focused on winning, losing reps and things like that that in the grand scheme of things, practice is just about stacking reps, putting it on tape, watching the tape, learning from the tape, going back out, doing it again. You know, then repeat, wash, rinse, and repeat the same process. There really hasn't been anyone that has been super disappointing. Yeah, Elijah, just with Elijah, it's just being healthy, but is that his fault? Again, I always have a hard time. It's just unfortunate circumstances for Elijah Mitchell, man. It just is. Winters has definitely been shining the last couple of days. Winters isn't in any shape of he's not at all going to miss out on this roster. Winters for sure is going to make it. Winters has definitely been balling. Um, and especially more so in like the last 3 days, 3 practices. Um, I've been pretty impressed with it, man. I've been pretty impressed with Winters. The speed is real, the athleticism is real. Um, and he's starting to play faster. And he's finding himself around the ball more as training camp continues. How is McKivitz holding up? McKivitz looks good, man. He's he's not perfect either, but I've been pleasantly surprised with McKivitz. I think McKivitz for sure looks good. I don't think McKivitz is going to be a problem for the 49ers. I think he's going to be good. My guy says talk faster, you talk too slow. I'm sorry. Came to the wrong channel. We talk slow here. Especially after a long day of training camp. I'm cooked, man. What's today? Day 8 of training camp. Of me waking up at like 6 a.m. every morning, driving hour and a half, 2 hours to Santa Clara, and then doing practice, driving back in traffic. Oh man, I'm cooked. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. No, the talking faster thing, I totally understand. I talk slow. I get it. I'm not a mile a minute talker. It takes me like 2 to 3 minutes longer for me to say something than other people say things. Fair critique. I can hear it as I'm talking. Like I know, like my brain is moving slower. It's 7:30. We normally do our lives at like 1:30. So I don't care. If you want a fast talker, I'm not the one for you. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize in advance. That's not gonna be me. Michael Moody says, most important question at training camp. Have you discovered who the new boombox guy is? So I was talking to him. I was talking to him 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I was standing, in the bleachers. He came, so he's an employee. I don't want to reveal just yet who it is because I want it to be somewhat of a surprise. Um, so he comes off the field and he says what's up to me, daps me up. We're talking about it, and I'm just like, bro, when are they gonna do it? When are they gonna make you the boombox guy? And he's like, I mean, it's up to Debo and it's up to Trent. They're gonna pick the boombox guy. And I was like, dude, it's gotta be you. Like it only makes sense that it's gonna be you. And he's like, yeah, I mean, he's like, I agree. Like, I think it would be perfect, but he's like, I don't know. I don't decide. It's Debo and Trent who's gonna do it. So I think the candidate is in house. I think he's there. I think he's the perfect candidate for it. Um, he's been with the team for a long time. He actually got me this hat that everyone always asks about. So shout out to my guy. But the candidate is in house. It shouldn't be a crazy search because I the candidate's in house, and it should be this guy. So we're waiting and seeing. We're waiting and seeing who's it going to be, but I think it's my guy. It's got to be him for sure. Let's see. Who brought the most energy today? I don't know. It's a good question. Am I going to make the trip to Vegas for joint practices? Do you guys know if joint practices are open to the public? I started looking around today and I can't see anything on the joint practices being available. Do you guys know? Do any of you guys know? I've looked. I'm not seeing anything, to be honest with you. I haven't really seen. But if you have any insight into that being a thing, that would be great because I would love to get there. I'm not committing just yet. Not committing just yet, but I would love to. I mean, can you imagine Jimmy Garoppolo versus the 49ers defense? What's my dog's name? Show us your dog. Where's Lilo? Come here. Can you see her? I don't know if you can see her. Where are you? Where are you? You see her paw. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. You say hi? Good girl. You say hi? Hi, hi, hi. That was her first on air appearance, uh, minus just being her tail. Um, and she wants to get out of here. She's trapped. And she's shedding. Fun stuff. I do want to get to joint practices are open last 2 years. Yeah, I was at the Vikings. I was at the Vikings joint practice in Minnesota, which that was where the joint practices in Minnesota is where I knew Nick Bosa was going to win Defensive Player of the Year because he went insane against Darisaw, who's a really good tackle. Um, he went crazy in joint practices. He went in. That was the moment where it was like, yep, Nick Bosa's going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. It's really not that hard to even see. But honestly, I haven't seen anything about joint practices with the Raiders. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I would love to get there. They have an indoor practice field, right? That would be ideal. Is if they have an indoor practice field and somehow we got in there because yeah, that Vegas heat is going to be tough. But hey, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Again, overall though, like just again recapping all the practices, I feel good. I still feel great about this team. I still feel good as a whole. I feel it's hard not to feel good about the quarterback room, like all things considered. Like it's August 4th, right? And when's the first game of the year? Is it in September? Is week 1 in September? I should have this memorized by now, but I don't. Week 1's in September. Like we didn't really know if Brock was even going to be back. We didn't know what we were getting from Trey. We didn't know what Sam was going to look like. And I think if we take a step back, like I feel like all these quarterbacks, if they were playing and starting, would win football games for the San Francisco 49ers. We're back to Potato as quarterback 1. Again, all this arguing, all this stuff, we know what it is. Brock Purdy's quarterback 1. They want him right now to be the franchise. It's pretty crystal clear to see. They want to figure out who's quarterback 2 and who that's going to be. Do they keep 2 high-end quarterback 2s, or do they try to flip a quarterback 2? I don't know. I don't know what they do. But we also know that I think it doesn't hurt this team to have depth at literally every possible position imaginable, including quarterback. So I feel like right now, um, do you think Brock Purdy can complete 50-yard sideline throw in stride? I would say no, not yet, just because we haven't seen it. Is he capable of? Yeah, I've seen him throw the ball 50 yards in practice, but he's overthrown. So he's 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 capable. We just haven't seen it yet. And I think that's what we're waiting for. Because again, think about it. His first deep balls were overthrown. Now his deep balls got a little too much air on it and they're a little bit underthrown. He's trying to find the sweet spot. You ever play beer pong? You know, you got elbows, right? Elbows. You're trying to like say you only got the middle cup left, right? And you're playing beer pong and you're over the table, you're over the cup, over the cup. You're like, all right, I gotta shorten it up a little bit. And then you're like in front of the cup or in front rim, and you're like, all right, let me try it. Let me a little bit more. Back rim, back rim. Like that's what feels like Brock Purdy is doing right now. I'm comparing Brock Purdy's deep ball progress to beer pong. When you got one cup left and you're trying to win and you're trying to drop it in that cup and you're all back rim, all front rim, and you're just trying to you're trying to find that sweet spot. You know how it goes. Like sometimes you're just like, oh, you're rimming it, rim. You're like, oh, off the table. You're like, and then when you get it, it's just that, and it's pure, and you're like, dub, drink. And Brock is, I feel like he's hitting the rim. He's not off the table. He's not necessarily bouncing it in front of the cup. He's hitting the rim. It feels like Brock is first couple practices, he was hitting the back of the rim. Now these last two practices, he's hitting the front of the rim. So he's trying to find that spot. Does that make sense? Jason says beer pong is the analogy of choice. We've all played beer pong. We all know what it's like. You got the one cup left, you're trying to sink it, and sometimes that it's just like you got to drop it in the bucket, but just sometimes knowing you got to drop it in the bucket, you just got to kind of like you got to feel it out a little bit. That's what it feels like. Brock is just kind of feeling it out a little bit, and we had some overthrows, we got some underthrows. Just gotta get it right. Just gotta get it right. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um, but I still think Brock is going to keep improving. I still think he's going to keep settling in and getting better. So I'm excited. I will be back at practice again tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm excited for the end of training camp. I've enjoyed it. I've been having a blast. Got VIP yesterday. I think I told you about that. I told you about the VIP experience. That was a lot of fun. But I'm also, I'm looking forward to not having to wake up at 6 a.m. every morning and drive 2 hours. I'm very much looking forward to that. But we got to do what we got to do. Want to make sure that we're covering it as best we can. One critique for me, hey, I'm scouting these guys. I got to self scout a little bit too. I got to scout a little bit better. Brock Purdy with his deep balls. I did yesterday on the one to Debo. I couldn't tell based on my angle that it was kind of underthrown. And today, I definitely misjudged how underthrown the ball was. Again, it was catchable ball. He caught it. But I think part of it too was like he hit, and it was a phenomenal catch. And I didn't see the whole process, so I was like, "Oh, finally!" we hit on a deep ball. um, but I'm gonna get better at it, I promise. Uh, but I'm having a good time, but I also can't wait to sleep in again. That's gonna be a good time. But I appreciate all you guys as always tapping in. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Again, thank you guys so much for tapping in with me. Grab a cookie on your way out. Shout out to everyone who sent a super chat. I really do appreciate it. As you guys know, it helps me so much. And we will do it all again tomorrow. I'll see you guys then. Peace.